Start? Okay,
Yes,
sir.
ma'am, we can.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Hello, sir. A warm good morning to all who have gathered here on behalf of Andamal College of Education for Women. I'm very happy to welcome each one of you to the first day of the 5 days training program on essential soft skills to prepare assistant teachers organized by I2AC of our college. I'm very happy to extend a warm, hearty welcome to Dr. Kingston, Assistant Professor of Commerce, University College, Tuticorin. He's here to join us in the topic breaking down the barriers of communication, which is a very essential skill in our workplace, family, and outside world. A small note about Dr. Kingston. He's a very young, energetic, and renowned speaker. He earlier served as assistant professor for 2 years in the Department of Management Studies at Infant Jesus College of Engineering. He has published several articles in research journals and proceedings, as well as chapters in books. He has also presented many papers in conferences and seminars. He has served as a resource person and guest lecturer in several invited talks. He has been the visiting faculty of Indian Institute of Banking and Finance, Tuticorin Center. He has been training students, employees in reputed industries, companies, and banking sectors. He is a certified trainer for central government course on sales and marketing. We are very much honored today by his presence. And now I request Dr. Kingston to take over the session. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. May I take over the session, ma'am?
Yes, you can, sir. You can continue with your session.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. At first, I would like to thank Andamal College for Women, College of Women, for granting me this chance to meet young potentials. And as well, thank you for offering me a wonderful chance to share what my experience there is filled. So thank you one and all. And as every one of us been, is my audio clear?
Yes, sir. It is very clear.
Ah,
Okay.
yes, sir. It's clear.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And so I'm just here to share my experience and what I've been doing in this kind of field. Before that, let me introduce something relating to this particular topic. And since 2015, I've been meeting people. I've almost met more than 1,500 people in terms of communication. And I had one institution to teach English and Hindi, and majority of the participants who attended my classes are teachers. And I'm sorry to say this, many of them wanted to speak in English fluently and effectively, and they had a lot of problems. Before I go deep into this, is it okay to go with bilingual or only in English? Are there any participants from other districts or other states?
Yes, sir. They might be.
There might be. So I've created a poll. Before I go deep into the particular concept, I'll go completely in English. Before I go deeply into the topic, can I have the poll run?
Ah, yes, sir. Sure. No.
Just wanted to know the mentality of this participants, so that I just started only 5 questions. It won't take much time. Just I request the participants to fill in the questions. So that I'll be able to understand what you guys are. What is your mentality or perception towards this particular webinar? It'll be much helpful if you run on the poll, ma'am, please.
Yes, sir.
I request the participants, please go through it. Only not a big thing to do, not a big thing to do. Only 5 questions are there. Just fill it up. I think it's so. No one has filled in so far, ma'am.
Actually, there's a problem with the display of polls, sir. Please wait a minute.
Okay. Okay, it'll be going into the background, but let me tell you something and what this webinar is all about. And by the time it will be ready, I guess. So this particular in this particular webinar, we are going to conduct. I mean, we are going to discuss only these things, and I've given only 4 things. I know this communication is not about the workflow communication. It's not about what normally corporate people mean as communication as the workflow communication, which means meeting and other stuff, not going deeper into the language arena. I mean, entirely body language and other stuff will be coming into the picture. But now what we are going to discuss is only about language and what are the barriers that we have to speak a language effectively. And as we teachers, we learn from the books. There are so many barriers. There are commonly there are 7 barriers like physiological, physical, and psychological, language barriers, and all that things. We are not going to discuss those things here. So we are going to discuss only 5 things which are very intense and which are only based on my experience. Now, as I told before, I've been coming across people who have been telling me that they have problems in terms of communication. They have been coming to me to train themselves to talk effectively. So here we discuss only about English. It's a narrowed down concept. Not about commonly on language. It is only purely about English. And before that, we should know what a language is all about. So to tell you what a language is all about, I've asked. I mean, is that polling ready, ma'am?
No, sir, not yet. I'm working on it. I'll let you know, sir.
Okay, ma'am. So in this particular thing, and before we go into the poll, I tell you what we are going to discuss. First thing, what a language is. What are the prerequisites before we update ourselves into before we become very proficient in terms of speaking English. Second thing, what are the thing that we have been doing so far? Is that are we acquiring a skill or are we acquiring a knowledge? If we are acquiring a knowledge, what does the make it? What's the special thing makes it to be a knowledge or to be a skill? Third thing, what does hold us back? We've been learning English or we have been learning a language for more than 17 years. We spent 14 years in school, pre-KG, LKG, UKG, and after 12 years, and then after finishing our schooling, we land up in a college. There we spent 3 years or more than 3 years. So almost we spend about more than 15 years in a particular language, but still we are unable to speak it. So what does really hold us back? What is being a scotch in speaking English? And the fourth one is how can we overcome it? So the entire webinar is revolving around these 4 things. What is language and what are the elements of it? Are we acquiring a language or a skill or a knowledge? Third thing is that what does really hold us back and how can we overcome it? So respondents, is the chat box is enabled, ma'am? I request the coordinators, please enable the chat box. Hello, madam. Can you hear me, ma'am? Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay.
See,
Now
there is a
I'll
problem saying that just you're logged in from another device, so your polling session is inactive, it says. So we have already checked
Okay.
in the morning. In the morning it's okay, but now somebody has logged in from the same login ID, I think. So that's the
Okay.
problem running the poll.
Okay,
So
ma'am. Please,
I'm trying, sir. I'll let you know
no
when it is
problem.
okay.
Okay, ma'am, no problem. I thought of giving it another overview, but now, as the participants can see on the screen, there is a simple question is being asked, which is the best choice to learn swimming. Uh, here we are talking about communication and how to enhance ourselves in terms of speaking a language. But let us assume that we are all here to learn swimming, and unfortunately, I'm your teacher. Okay, so I've given six choice. My question is very simple. Which is the best choice to learn swimming? I've given six choices. One, are you going to learn it from the books? Let us assume that you have three set of books, and those books have the comprehensive detail about what the swimming is all about. And the second thing, a teacher takes classes. And the third thing, you're learning it on the web, or you're watching videos, or you're attending online classes, or even you're doing something else as we install apps for English in our mobile. So third thing is that. Fourth thing, we are discussing about swimming with our friends. And fifth one is that you're observing people who are swimming. You're sitting in a relaxed manner, watching people swimming so relaxed, and you're observing how they are doing it. And sixth one is also you're watching, or you're attending an analysis class. Let us assume like that. So there are six choices in front of you. Which one do you think is the best thing to learn swimming? Can I have your answers, please? Which one would be the best choice to learn swimming? Okay. Even you can add one more choice. It will be in the seventh one if you're listening it. Let us assume that the people who have achieved a lot more in swimming are coming to your college and they are giving a lecture. They are giving all the tips and stuff. Four and five, five. No one is telling about seventh. Is it seventh is not viable enough? Seven, a person who has achieved things or coming to your college and
Seven.
talking about it. Okay,
Seven is
one.
not visible.
Okay, visible is given. Just now I'm giving just to make sure that people are listening it. Seven is not given here, but what I discussed is about seven. Okay, five and seven. Okay. Now let me go deep into it. I'm very sorry to the participants that none of the methods will be will be helpful to learn swimming, because we should know what language is all about at first. The first thing, what is a language? How does it associate with communication? Let us first understand what is a language. As your chat box is open, it's not a seminar. If it is a seminar, I'll give it to your mic personally and I'll ask you what do you think all about. But now I'm just asking, what is a language? Can anyone say what language is in your own terms, be it in Tamil or English? In chat box, will be fine. I'll give you just 1 minute. No, let's not take too much of time. What is a language? Medium to communicate. Medium to communicate dots. Okay. I'm so happy that people are giving it in a very accurate term, tool to communicate. Then my question is, what is communication? How does it relate to how does a languages relate to communication? Okay. So if I ask you, it'll take too much of time. Let me say this. Nowadays, the word communication is very complicated. You know, I don't want to make you feel that it is very tough to crack, but I don't want to say like that. But what I want to say is that particular term has become evolved as a complicated one. Initially, when we talk about communication, it was only signs. People used their body language to communicate. When we were tribals, we used only signs. Second term, we evolved to use sounds as the communication tool. So first it was the signs and then sounds, and then the drawing came into the picture. The drawings were used and the tools were used, and later it was the language. Sounds have been transformed into a language. Now languages are so many, and the words that we have even more higher in a language. Many words in a particular language is even more confusing. When we use language to communicate, it becomes very clumsy and it becomes very complicated, because even in a language, not even words, more than words, body language takes place, even the tone and pitch takes place. So the word communication in terms of language has become more and more complicated. So that's why this webinar has been arranged to make it very simple and possible one to communicate very easily, to make it very convenient for us. As every one of us say that it is to share our feelings, thoughts, and informations. Yes, it is true. But how do we translate our information? So is that the only tool is language? Definitely not. As the research says, the language takes place in communication only 7%. We are giving too much of importance to that particular 7%. Okay. So what I actually want to say is that language is just a tool, but that particular tool has a lot of complications in it. Words, grammar, vocabulary, and the pronunciation, and even so much of things, dialects and other things will be coming into the picture. Now, is that poll ready, ma'am? Because the informations are somewhere in the poll. I think it's not. Okay, let me leave it up. The question is all about this one. I've asked you in the poll. If you have any issue, okay, let me quickly check it. I asked you one question just 2 minutes before. How can we improve? How can we learn swimming effectively? People said 5 and 7, 2, and all those things. I said it was wrong. One person has given it the right answer. It was because of practice. Okay, now let me tell you what is language. Okay, and another instance I'll give you. We have learned 5 different languages in our 10th standard. 10th standard, 11th, and 12th standard. We have learned 5 different languages. For me, it was Tamil, English, maths, science, and social science. There were five different subjects that I've learned. Let us assume that my science teacher, if he or she solves any equation effortlessly, it is because we say that particular teacher has tremendous subject knowledge. Please listen to the words that I use. If my science teacher is able to solve any equation, or if he or she is able to teach me so clearly what is given more than what is given in the book, and more beyond that, I would say my teacher is having predominant subject knowledge. Think about my English teacher and another subject. If my teacher speaks English effortlessly and effectively, I would say my teacher has proficiency in or skill in English. I won't say my teacher has subject knowledge. If my science teacher is clarifying my doubts or helping me in any way around in my subject, I would say she has subject knowledge. Wherein my English teacher says talks English very fluently, or if she clears my doubts in the language, I would say she has skill in teaching. What does differentiate? I have learned 5 different subjects. In one subject a particular teacher is proficient, I would say that she is having a subject knowledge. In another subject, another teacher is so proficient, I would say she is skillful and she has good communication skill. So I say a subject is a skill and other subject as a knowledge. So what do you think as knowledge? What is the meaning of knowledge and what is the meaning of skill? Can anybody respond in the chat box? What do you mean by skill and what do you mean by uh, knowledge? What is the knowledge and what is a skill? English is a language and a skill which helps to communicate and gain knowledge, is not a subject. Yes, it's definitely not a subject. Okay, then what do we mean by subject, or what do we mean by knowledge? Knowledge we gain from books? No. Knowledge is learning, yes. Knowledge is something that we acquire using skills. You're nearly there. Skill isn't born. Okay. Now let us go back to this particular thing, swimming. Are you able to see my chat window? I guess all these six elements are knowledge. All these six elements. Even you can even add. Let me give another example. You know, I would tell you real incidents, and as I said before, I'm going to share only my experience, not the things that what I've learned in books. So definitely, I'm going to share my experience. One day, I was myself and my friend. We were waiting on a tea shop in a tea shop, and there was a fight between the tea shop owner and the person who had come to drink a tea. So they were fighting with each other about the politics. One person was scolding MGR and the other person was scolding another political party, and they were fighting with each other. And that guy, both of them are not educated. Seriously, they're not educated. I know that very well. And one person has said, I'm sorry to use that in Tamil if you are very much, I think many of them are from Tamil Nadu. So he said, எல்லாமே எம்ஜிஆரால வந்ததுதான், it all because of the man who ruled. I mean, he was the chief minister in 1984. Okay. So it was all because of MGR, the one person said. The other person said, no, it was not because of him. It was because of the other person, he said. So they were fighting with each other in terms of, they used many bad words and all that. We were enjoying, I and my friend, we were enjoying the conversation they were having it. And at last, the tea shop owner said, it all happened in 1986. They splitted Tuticorin and Tirunelveli apart, and that's where the problem had started, and all that thing they were discussing. And I was wondering, how does this particular the person know this? Is he, boasting of his own knowledge, or is he making us fool? So,
Excuse me, sir.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
The poll is ready. Shall I launch it?
Yes, ma'am, you can. Can you please quickly vote it,
Yeah, I
guys?
have launched it.
Thank you, ma'am. No, I'm not saying. I mean, I'm requesting the participants, please cast their votes.
Participants, kindly view the
Uh,
polling questions and give your response. Thank you. Thank you, participants.
Only 4% out of 325 has casted their votes.
Yeah, 9 or 10.
Mm, thank you. Majority of them are students.
Yes.
When it touches nearly 150, I'll close. Please, you can end the poll, ma'am.
Okay, sir.
And I'll end it on my own.
Okay, sir.
Dear participants, I just wanted to check, what your perception and understanding about language. That's why the questions have been given. And these questions, you might wonder, what are you going to know, understand about us using these questions and all that. But I'm just going through your answers. Let me make a note of it. Okay, thank you. Now I'll end it up. Okay, majority of students, more than 200 participants are students, and nearly 20 percentage of, 8% of respondents are teachers. Do you have any issue in speaking English? Yes. Yes and maybe. I'll count only yes and maybe altogether, because majority of you having an issue in terms of English? 3. If yes, what is your main problem in speaking English? If no, what do you think as a main problem in speaking English? In both the ways you can cast your votes. 62 of you have said it is because of grammar, and 95% of you, 39, nearly 39% of the response have said it is due to the fluency, and 50 of you have the clear understanding about language, I would say, because it is main problem is not in terms of grammar or pronunciation or vocabulary. It is not even about fluency. It is only about another thing. That's what we are going to discuss today. In the third question, you can say this question is very clearly. If yes, what is the main problem in speaking English? People will say it is due to the fluency. If no, it is due to the other reasons. Okay, that's what we are going to discuss. I'm very sure that it is not because of the grammar and it is not because of the pronunciation.
Sir, your
Even it is
screen is
not
not
because of the
visible.
vocabulary power that you
Your
have.
PPT screen.
Okay, okay. Is it
Yes, sir. It's visible now.
and I think 6% of the response have attended spoken English courses. Okay, observing people, 45, nearly 18% of the people are doing it, but I'm very sorry. And that's what you're going to discuss today. If you remember the polling questions, the fourth question was all about what do you really do to improve your communication skill in terms of English? And there were about 10 options. And I'm completely different. I'm not different. I'm completely having a different opinion about people who say read newspaper, watch news, and watch movies and all those things. I'm completely away from it. In the initial stages, you should not do it. In the initial stages, you can do it. So I'm having an assumption that many of you are students, college students. So you must be in the intermediate level. You should not do it. If you say why and all that thing, we can discuss in the questioning session. Okay, so all those 10 options will not be helpful if you're in the intermediate level. I would say why it is not useful in the class itself, in the webinar itself. And fifth one, how the effectiveness of a communication is measured, not because of fluency. I'm very sure 93%, 35% is the people, it accounts to 93 in numbers. They said it is due to it is because of the fluency. No, it's not. It is due to the vocabulary that we use. No, not even by pronunciation. The right answer is by the response of the listener. It's not a quiz program, but I tell you a small story. There were about 4 students who were traveling on a train. Okay, they were doing all mischievous acts on the train, and all the other passengers were little disturbed about the behaviors of the students. They were making noise, they were moving here and there, and they were jumping, and all the other passengers were literally disturbed about their move, about their behavior. One old man on the train, he asked one of the students, and he called, "Pa, நீங்கெல்லாம் என்னப்பா படிக்கிறீங்க?" That's what the question about from the old man. What are you guys doing? And one student, he replied, it was a real experience. One of the other guys, yo, பெருசு நாங்க என்ன படிக்கிறோம்னு சொன்னா உனக்கு தெரிஞ்சுமா? Hey, old man, would you be able to understand if I say what we are doing? Would you be able to understand if I say what we are doing? You know, the next moment, the old man responded, if you are unable to say what you're doing clearly, and what is the purpose of education? If you don't make me clear by the way you express, what is the point of learning? So this is what I would say communication is all about. This example, it clearly sets way to understand what communication is all about. Communication is purely about the listeners, not about the speaker. If the speaker is having so much of proficiency, fluency, he has sound knowledge in grammar and other thing, it doesn't make the particular, if if I'm very blabbering enough, if I'm using all the jargons and terminologies, if I'm very fast, if I have fluency, if I'm very stylish in terms of in the way I speak, if my listener is not able to understand what I speak, then I don't have communication. Seriously, I don't have any proper communication skill. So it is all about the listener. Okay, all the communication, the effective communication is always measured in terms of the listener. Okay, this is what the overview about communication. As we say, communication is all about, if the listener understand what the speaker speaks, the communication is good. If the listener is not able to understand the speaker, then the communication is not good. Okay, even if he shares his own knowledge or thoughts and other thing, using all the jargons with pronunciation, with proper grammar and everything, if the listener is blind, I'm very sure the communication is not met, and the purpose of communication is not met. So okay, now let us come back to the first question. What is a language? So I say language is a tool to communicate. Then let us come back to the communication. We communicate something using the language, and the language has become very much complicated nowadays. We use the body language, jargons and other stuff, so it has become more and more complicated. With that complicated note, how does it associated? Many of you have given clear answers on the chat box. It was a skill. Okay, what does differentiate skill? Now let us come back to this one minute. Is my screen visible? No, I couldn't do anything. Hello, ma'am.
It's visible, sir.
It's not functioning. 1 minute, ma'am. I think it's not opening.
Okay, sir. But it's
Okay, now let
visible.
us. Okay, now let us come and now let me give you a thing. Whatever I've been discussing so far. Skill is something which can be acquired only through practice. Let us come back to the example which I asked just a couple of minutes before. How can we learn swimming effectively? I've given you 6, 7 examples. I mean, 6, 7 ways and means how you can do it. All the 7 mediums are, I mean, all the 7 ways are the mediums to acquire knowledge, not skill. Definitely not skill. If I want to become like a Dhoni, want to be a good cricketer, if I learn cricket by books, will I be able to play cricket? Definitely not. If a bat is given in my hand, I'm sure that if I hit the first ball, I'll be dead. Either I may die or I may not be able to walk, or something might happen. Something definitely might be happening negatively. I won't be able to hit 6 or 4. Definitely, if I learn cricket by books, I'm sure that I will not be able to play cricket anytime. If I observe people who are playing cricket, even then I'll not be able to play. Okay, we have come across quite a good number of people speaking good English, but then we are unable to speak like them just because we are just observing. Observing alone we will not be able to play cricket. Then if I watch online videos or if I use apps to learn cricket, and all those things will not be effective. And what are the if I discuss cricket with the people who are playing it, even I won't be able to play it. Then all these are the ways and means how we can acquire a knowledge. So how a knowledge can be acquired? Knowledge can be acquired through reading, writing, listening, observing, discussing. Okay, even discussing. Okay, again I repeat, knowledge can be acquired. Are we acquiring a knowledge or skill? Knowledge can be acquired only by reading, listening, writing, observing, and watching. Okay, now let us make the other question. I'll ask you the question the other way around. Are we acquiring a knowledge or are we acquiring a skill in English? Can I have your answers on the chat box now? Are we acquiring a knowledge or are we acquiring a skill? Skill is purely about practice. Swimming is a skill. Swimming is an example of skill. It cannot be acquired in the 7 mediums I've given. It can be acquired only by practice. Even if nobody is there to teach you how to swim, you'll be able to swim if you jump into the pool. Definitely you'll be able to. If you have a basic knowledge of how to do it, that's all. You just need a basic amount of knowledge. Is the chat box is enabled? I don't get your answer. Skill and knowledge. Okay. So far we are unable to speak English just because we are acquiring knowledge in terms of English. We are not acquiring a knowledge. We are not acquiring a skill. I've given 10 different options. What are you doing? What are you doing to improve your language? You said reading newspaper. Reading, again, make you very clear. Reading, writing, observing, discussing, and all those things are the mediums to acquire a knowledge, not a skill. So if you're reading a newspaper, you're acquiring a knowledge. You're not acquiring a skill. You'll not be able to speak English, but you'll be able to write English. You've been spending a lot of time to practice English and all those things, but you'll be able to write, but you'll not be able to speak. Speaking is a skill. Of course, writing is also a skill, but it is knowledge associated skill. Okay. So definitely, uh, reading newspaper is a you're acquiring a knowledge. If you want that knowledge to transform as a skill, only one thing is required. So many of you, you might say that we are acquiring knowledge to make it as a skill. Yes, definitely we are acquiring knowledge to make it as a skill, but one element is missing. Skill, only one element is required. What is that? It is all about practice. If you don't practice, if you keep acquiring a knowledge and all those things, definitely this knowledge will not be very effective. Though knowledge, I've seen quite a good number of people coming across when we speak English, not just me, everyone, when we speak English, that person will be able to spot out the mistakes when speaks. For example, if I learn cricket from books, if I discuss cricket with the people who are doing it enormously well, I'll be able to tell what is wrong, what is right, how to play it, and all those things I'll be able to discuss. I'll be able to tell you. So I can become an umpire, not a player. What we are doing in terms of English, we are good at acquiring a knowledge. When someone speaks, we spot out the errors. This tense won't be here, and all that we are able to spot out the errors in terms of pronunciation, in terms of grammar and all those things, but we are unable to speak. If the person repeats the question, you're correcting my mistake, but why are you unable to speak English? It is because of lack of practice. Practice is the only element that makes proficiency, I mean skill. If you want to acquire a skill, you have to practice. If you want to acquire knowledge, you can read, write, and all those things. But so far we have been taught to acquire a skill: read newspaper, watch English movies, watch news. Okay, watch movies is a helpful word. I tell you how to do it in the end. Okay, that's one of the effective tool that we can acquire knowledge to make it skill very faster. So I'll tell you what is the tip to do it behind. Okay. So, okay, next, my PPT is not working, I guess. Can you give me 1 minute, ma'am? Hello?
Yes, sir, sure.
1 minute, ma'am. It's not opening.
Now we could see, sir.
1 minute, ma'am. I mean, it's not functioning here. I couldn't change slides.
Okay.
Are you able to see it on a full screen?
Not as a slideshow, sir, but as a PPT screen.
Okay, I think it's not working.
But we are able to see your slides.
Okay, that's fine, ma'am.
Uh,
Even I couldn't change the slide. If you give me one
oh,
minute,
okay, okay. No problem, no problem.
I think my slides are not moving. Uh, hey, can you give me just 1 minute? I'll log out and I'll come back within a short while.
Okay, okay,
Ma'am,
sir.
I'm
Okay,
sorry, ma'am.
okay, sir.
Sorry for the
Okay, it's okay.
inconvenience caused
It's okay.
because of.
Participants, kindly bear with the technical issue, please.
I think now it's fine.
Ah, yeah.
I'm sorry for the inconvenience caused, and I sincerely apologize.
It's okay, sir.
Okay. So, okay, now let us come back to this thing. So, so far we have been discussing what is knowledge and what is thing. If I ask people about what is the real problem in in understanding a language or speaking language, people would come up with so many things. And this is one of the things that people quite often say. You know, they say vocabulary is needed. They have to be highly educated if you want to speak English. Your body language should be good. Your reading ability must be very fast, and whatever the things that you have learned should be learned from English medium. Have to be highly focused, and the pronunciation should be good, and the fluency must be very fast, and you must be having enough memory skills and all that thing people put forth when they are lagging behind in terms of communication skill. If you ask them why they are lagging behind, they would come up with so much of excuses. And these are the bundle of excuses that we have been coming across for years and years. And out of these things, I would say, you know, we would say one of the things of vocabulary. And I would say nearly 40% of the respondents in the poll today responded that the vocabulary skill is very much needed to speak English, and that is how the effectiveness is being measured. But I would say it's not the thing. Here, let's go by a simple test. I asked the participants how much of the words do we really require to speak in English fluently. Can I have your responses, please? I'll please bear with me. I'll ask you some of the questions. If you put it in the chat box, it'll be easy for me to go ahead with the requirement of the participants. How much words do we really need to speak English? Nearly 100. 100 is not enough. If you close your eyes, if you close your not I'm not asking about the letters, I'm asking about words. If you close your eyes and if you look around your room, I'm sure that you can find more than 200 words. Infinity, infinity, uncountable, thousand two. Okay, but research says, doing due to the technical issue, the time that we are having is not enough to complete the thing. But so let me quickly go through it. How much of words do we really need to talk in English? It is less than 1,000. Research shows that if people are aware about 600 to 800, they can speak English, they can communicate English without any error. They can talk English, you know, 600 to 800. If they have this amount of word, they can talk. How much of words do we really need to talk in English fluently and effectively using the correct words? We use standard English. Okay, if you want to speak a standard English, how much words do we really need? And the same person has done a research saying for the sake, but I'm telling you, out of the researches that have been conducted for years, it is nearly about 1,500. It is 1,500 to 1,600 range. That's the range that they are coming into the conclusion. Nearly 1,500. So how much words do we really need? So I made a small kind of calculation to know how much. When I started to learn English, we started with 26 letters, but we did not learn the letters alone. We learned A for apple, B for ball. So that's how we learned. We learned 26 letters, connecting those letters into a particular word. So when we started learning English, we started with 26 words. When we learned first standard to fifth standard, we approximately learned 50 words in a year. It's very, I've given in a very, very, it might give you an appearance of a miser, you know. എടുത്ത്, 50 is very minimum in terms of numbers when we learn English, but I've given in a very short, very, very, lesser in number. 1 to 5th standard, we have, if we learned approximately 50 words per year, it comes about 250. In high school, the numbers might have gone up because the subjects might have increased, and the poems we learn and all those things. Some words are repetitive in nature, so I've excluded those numbers and all. If you exclude that, even then the 100 is very less. In high school, you have learned about 500 words. In higher secondary, the language you learn is little technical. If you have chosen by microbiology, the words that you learn in that particular discipline will be highly technical. If you have opted for commerce, the words that you have learned will be highly technical. Datas, creditors, and all those things will come into the picture, that those words you would have not even heard in the high school. So higher secondary is always a little technical English, out of the environment that we have learned. It accounts for whatever your age may be. If you're even 50, even if you're 50 in age, definitely you might have learned. I've given only 100 words. Okay, even if you're 20, the 100 is even lesser than that. UG or PG, if you have learned about 100 words per year, it accounts to 1300. We have nearly 1476 if we have calculated in a stingy manner. 1400, according to the research, those words are effectively and fluently. Then why are we not talking? Why are we not talking English? Even then, we have enough words in our hands. Okay? It is due to fear. Different barriers that is being a scotch in our way to speak English. So only five, not a big deal, only five out of the experience alone, not because of the things that I've learned in books. It is purely about the experience. I've given some kind of tests as well. I'll quickly do it. Okay. So from now, will go into the concept very deeply. I've given only five barriers that we have been coming across to speak English. How to break those barriers? What are the tests that we can do? What are the tests and the remedial actions that we can take to root that away? Okay. The first one is that, I'm coming from bottom to top. The fifth barrier that I have, I've been experiencing from people: poor listening skill. Okay. Now I have a test for you guys. If you are having a headphone or headset, please use it. I have a test for you, and it'd be effective, I guess. I think it has been specially designed for the intermediate people, especially for the students who are learning. For the college students and teachers. Okay, the fifth one is pure listening skill. Let us measure your skill at first, and let us come back to the slide again. Okay, let's make a test. Here I've given you a test to measure your listening skill, based on which you can measure your English speaking skill as well. Okay, thing. Now I'm going to play an audio. Please listen to the audio and uh, put your response on the chat box whether you are able to understand it or not. Can I start it now? I'll start it now. Please give your ears to it and listen to it meticulously.
Audio is not clear, sir.
Is the audio not clear?
Yes, sir.
Can I play it once
Could
again?
it be louder?
Is it clear now, ma'am?
It's better, sir.
1 minute.
Hmm.
Are you not able to hear it? Many of the responses are not audible. It's less. Okay, I'll play another other audio, ma'am. I'll play another audio.
Okay, sir.
Is that But I'm able to clear it very clearly, ma'am. Is that any issue with the headphones or something? Please turn up the volume that you're having. If it is in laptop or mobile phone, please turn up the audio. Can I play it once again, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now it's over. I think people have I mean, have heard it very clearly. Can you please make sure that you are able to understand it or not? Put it in the chat box. Yes, sir, I'm able to understand. If not, sir, I don't. Yes, yes. Okay, very clearly. I'll quickly go through it. Yes, many of the yeses are coming in. Now. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And now I play another audio. I play another audio. Now you're going to test your listening skill now. And please listen to the audio very clearly based on which four questions are asked. Il- Only four questions, not a big deal. Okay. Please, I'll play an audio now. Please turn up the volume in your mobile phone or your laptop. Based on the audio, four questions would have been will be asked, and you'll have to answer it. Again, I play it. Okay, now we're able to clear. I mean, hear it clearly. If you are able to clear it, the first question is, ரெண்டு பேர் பேசிட்டு இருந்தாங்க அங்க இல்லையா? So what movie do these people plan on watching? Can I play it once again? We are running short of time, so I'll quickly finish it up. Okay, if people have whoever have heard it very clearly, can you please put your answer? First one, what movie that people are planning to watch? The second one, when do they plan on watching the movie? Okay, it's self-realization. You don't need to give me the answer, but it is all about yours. You know, four questions have been asked. One, um, என்ன மூவி பார்க்கணும்னு நினைக்கிறாங்க? I mean, what movie they wanted to see, and the second, then when do they want to watch movie? Third one is where do they want to meet? Where do they plan on meeting? Okay. Fourth one, what time they wanted to meet? Okay. Four questions have been asked. One thing, if you're answering right, I'll give you the right answers now. First one, Lord of the Rings. Second one, tomorrow. And the third one is at the subway entrance. And the fourth one, when do they at 1 o'clock? I'll play it once again. I'm not going to play it once again, and I'll give it in the subtitles itself. What are you doing tomorrow? Nothing really. Let's watch a movie or something. What's on these days? I think they are playing Lord of the Rings. It was the answer for the first question, Lord of the Rings. Okay. And the second question, um, where should they meet? At the subway entrance. And that was one answer. If you see the answers, if I highlight the answers, I'll use it. This was one answer, and it was the other one. It was the question answer for the first question, Lord of the Rings. and this was another one. So four questions have been asked, four answers. If you're if due to the webinar thing, these things did not work, I tell you the real instances that I've been coming across. Okay, first thing, this kind of test that I used to give my people whoever is coming into my institute to learn English. Okay, when they watch at the very first time, I give them this slide. I give them this slide and I play the audio, and 90 percentage of them, they would say that they are able to understand it very clearly. If I ask any question from them, they'll be able to answer it very clearly. Nearly 90 percentage of them, no more than 90, you can even say. But when I take off the subtitles, when I take off the texts on the slides, when I play the audio alone, when I ask them to listen it, when I play the audio alone, and when I give them the questions alone, I'm sure they would be coming out. No, sir, I'm not able to understand. No, sir, it's not very clear. They are talking very fast. Their accent is different. Their way, they're going very, in an. They are native speakers. I'm not a native speaker, so I'm unable to understand. But the very beginning, they are able to understand. They were able to understand. They were able to answer it very clearly. But now, when they play the audio alone, they are not able to understand. It is because in in the very beginning, when I gave you this slide, you were able to understand, not you, just the people who have been whom I've interacted with. When I gave this slide, people were able to read it and they were able to understand it. This is one of the mistakes that we are doing when we watch movies. When we watch English movies, we are able to understand it very clearly just because we switch on when we turn on the subtitles. When the subtitle in the movie is on, people will be able to understand very clearly. Because they are not listening, make sure that they are not listening, they are only reading the subtitles. Reading, because we have enough knowledge in English. That's what I said in the very beginning. We have been acquiring knowledge in English, not the skill. If you want to acquire the skill in terms of English, you have to listen a lot rather than reading. People who are listening, they understand it because they know the meaning of it and everything, so they understand it, but they are unable to speak it just because they are not listening. If you want to speak English, you have to listen it meticulously, not reading. So whenever you watch movies, please turn off the subtitles. Do not turn on. Please turn off the subtitles and watch it. And at the 15 minutes, you will not be able to understand it. After 15 minutes, if you withhold, when you cross more than 15 minutes, I'm sure that you'll be able to get a clear picture of the movie. If not in the first time, you'll be able to pick it up in the next or the next time. So definitely, please, the first mistake that people are doing is that they do not listen properly. This one, they have poor listening skill because they want to, in the communication, they don't want to, understand it clearly, but they wanted to give a reply. First, you have to grasp the entire words and how do they speak and what pattern do they speak and what are the words they are using and all that to understand it. But what we are normally doing is that we are understanding it to reply. You know, so please do not do it. Whenever someone speaks English, please listen to it very meticulously in a way, understand their patterns, understand the words, and understand how do they speak and how do they pronounce and all those things, and then reply it. Okay. The first barrier that we have is the poor listening skill. Okay. The solution is that give all your ears first, then the mind next. First, observe what they are talking, listen very meticulously, then reply to them next. Okay, that's the first, not that the first one, the fifth barrier that that I have been experiencing from people. When I talk to them, they don't listen properly, but they will come up with another answer. So listening is not about, just to respond. Listening should not be there just to respond. It must be there to understand it completely. The comprehensive understanding would definitely help you in terms of speaking English. And the next one is the fourth barrier. I think this test did not work very well on the webinar, but it will be really working if I share the slides. I'll be definitely sharing the slides with you. Play it on. Uh, you know, um, do it on your own. You'll be able to measure your listening skill. Out of four questions, if you are able to understand only two, you have to work on it. Very one or two, yeah, you will have to definitely work on it. If if you clear more than three or four, I'm sure that your listening skill is better enough to go with that. Okay. So the next one, the translation process. It's very easy to spot out people. Now, I usually give the jumble IQ when people come the very first day, right? You can usually spot out these kind of people, right? If you are having this kind of problem, please listen to it very carefully. When you speak English, if you are saying uh, oh, அது வந்து we speak it and we'll revisit to the mistake whatever we had made earlier. For example, I would say I was there. No. I'm there. No, I will be there. And people make this kind of errors when they speak. It means that in their mind there is a process of translation going on. So if you have that kind of translation process in your mind, I'm very sure that you'll not be having fluency. Yeah. The biggest scotch for fluency is translation process. We are thinking in one language and we are communicating in the other language. It would definitely take time. It would definitely take at least 1 second or 2 seconds, depending upon the knowledge that you have in terms of knowledge language. So if you're revisiting your mistake, or if you're stretching, or if you're giving a pass, or if you're correcting your own mistakes when you communicate, so it means that this particular problem is with you. Many of the people who have been learning, who learn English and then they communicate it, they translate that into a skill, definitely they'll be facing this kind of problem. you know they think in one language and they translate into another language. It takes time, it spoils the fluency. So do not translate anything. Sir, how can we root that out, sir? There are many tests for it. There are many tests. One of the tests I've given here. Okay, there are many other tests or there. If you want to communicate very fluently and very fast, these are the things that you can do. Okay, do not think in Tamil and then translate that into English. Please think in English. It won't come in the very first instant. It would take definitely time. There are many activity based learnings to help that out. Okay, so one of the tests that I've given you. Okay, for example, I've taken the word communication. You can jumble the letters in any way. Okay, using those letters, there are about 10, I think 12 letters are there. 13, I guess there are 13 letters are there in the particular word. You can shuffle or you can jumble those letters anyway around, but you should use only the letters that are appearing in the word. Okay, so out of those particular word, if it was a lengthy word, it will be very easy for you to bring out so many meaningful words out of it. Okay, out of which I have taken so many words out of the particular word. I jumbled the letters in the word communication and I extracted so many words out of it, like common, nation, onion, ton, cat, mat, notion, motion, mom, man, none, moon, noon. So all these words have certain meaning. Okay, you will have to extract the words which have certain meaning. If it was a noun, it will be so good. The rules are jumble the letters and write down the words that give meaning. If it was a noun, it will be helpful. Even if it can be a verb, no problem at all. Create a story using those letters, those words chronologically, which means upside down. Okay, you should not shuffle any words in between. Common, then nation, then onion. Those words should be coming in. These are the important rules. Talk not less than 3 minutes. You should talk at least for 3 minutes, and you have to talk very fast. You should not slow it down, and you should not stretch or pass. What does it mean? People use this ooh and all those things. This is what we mean as stretching. You should not stretch, and you should not give a pass. You should cook up a story using those words, and you'll have to run like a machine. For example, if you go through the words, even நான் தமிழ்ல சொல்ல சொன்னீங்கன்னா நிறைய பேர் சொல்லுவாங்க காமன் நேஷன் ஆனியன் என்னெல்லாமோ வச்சு என்னென்ன கதைனாலும் சொல்லலாம். That's the same way. If I say that in English, there is a common tendency in the nation. Whenever the commodities are hidden, definitely the price will go up. So one of the examples for those commodities is onion. The tons of onions have been hidden to create an artificial competition in the market to get profit out of it. This is the way that you have to speak. I used only 4 words. For those 4 words to come across those 4 words, I took about 30 seconds. Or if you want to come, at least you will have to extract 10 words for it. Okay, if you cook up a story and if you use those words chronologically and if you go very fast without passing and stretching, And if you continuously do this kind of activity again and again, your mind will stop at a particular point of time. At that particular point of time, your mind will think, amma idukku Tamil la enna, idukku English la enna appdin think panningana, it means that the translation process is going in your mind. It would definitely spoil the fluency. So definitely, so whenever you're doing it, so make sure that you extract more than 10 words. You have to be very fast. If you're stretching a past, start from a beginning again. This activity will definitely help you in terms of thinking in English, right? Then translation error. That's what I've been telling. Okay, barrier number 4. It is translation process. Your mind takes too much of time. Okay, your mind takes too much of time when you think in a different language and when you communicate in another language. So definitely it would take time. So to curb it down, to curb down the time that taken in your mind, the process or the translation process, please think in English. The only solution is, yeah, train your mind to think in English. So it's one of the effective method to think and speak English very fluently. So please do this jumbling IQ. And these are the one. This is one test that I give to my students when they appear for the you know in the very first time to meet me. So I would be able to understand what their mistake is. If they blabber, if they give enough space in between the words, it means that they have translation process error in their mind. So it would definitely ruin your fluency and the effectiveness of it. So this is the barrier number 4. Okay, and at last I'll give you how to overcome it, and I've given the solution as well. Train your mind to think in English, and it would be done only using this particular IQ test. So make sure that you are doing it, but you have to have enough vocabulary thing, and I'll tell you how to increase that in the end as well. I'll take only 10 minutes, ma'am, if you don't mind, ma'am. Okay.
Yes, sir, you continue.
Okay, third barrier number 3 is that adult mind. And people might wonder what this guy is teaching. I'm not teaching, and I'm sharing my experience. This now all these slides have been made. I know exclusively I made it. The words and the pictures and everything that has been given, it's all I have made it because I'm just here to share my experience that have been coming. That's the thing. Okay, barrier number 3, what I think is that adult mind. When we were, what adult mind is, that when we speak English, is it right, is the first question that appears in our mind. Is that right? And okay, why do we use are here, why not don't here? Why do I use do? Why not didn't or so much of questions will be appearing in our mind when we speak English as an adult. Okay, think about a child. Another question I wanted to ask you in the chat box, and on a short span I'll ask you, how much time does it take to learn a language or to speak a language? To speak a language, how much time does it take? Is it a month or year or weeks or day or hour? Any new language, not English, any new language. How much time does it take to learn a new language? Can you please respond on the chat box? How much time does it take to learn? 16 days, depending on the practice, 1 month, a month? Not effectively to speak a language. That's what my question is. To speak a language, how much time does it take? The moment we try, 40 days, 1 week, depending on the practice. Okay, thank you, thank you. Okay, but what research says is 2 weeks, only 2 weeks. But my question is that research wrong? Because we have been spending time for more than 17 years, more than 15 years in English, but then we are unable to speak. Whoa. Only two options. One, we must be wrong, or the research must be wrong. Okay, I'm very clear that the research is right because they have tested on humans. Okay, they have tested people in French, not in English. They have tested in using the language French. It only 2 weeks, 20 days, depending on the interest of a person. Okay, I'm not asking about the psychological factors and the environment factors. Leaving all that aside, leaving that as a common thing, as a constant thing. How much time does it take? I would say, not I. It research says it is 2 weeks. Okay, in a 2 weeks, a person who's not able to read, who's not able to write, who's not even exposed of that particular language is able to speak. If I land up in Mumbai, if I don't have any experience or exposure towards Hindi, if I land up in Mumbai, how much time would it take for me to speak Hindi? Okay, I don't read Hindi, I don't speak, I don't write, and I don't have any experience towards Hindi. But if I land up in Mumbai, how much time would it take? Definitely less than 2 weeks to speak Hindi. At least the basic necessary stuff. Okay, to fluently and effectively, it would take nearly according to the practice, according to the circumstances, it would take a month. Okay, but not less than 14 days. Just because what when we speak a language as an adult, what we think is that we expect perfection at the very first instance. Do not expect perfection when you speak a language. The golden rule of any language is that you will have to make a mistake like a child. In the realities that I've given in the reality, a child learns much faster than an adult because the child doesn't ask any question, doesn't ask why does it இப்போ சொல்லுவாங்க present tenseல s சேருங்க. The child won't ask you why s is added in a verb. The child doesn't ask it. Okay, children don't ask those kind of questions when they speak. They speak, they make errors, they learn out of the errors. But we adult, we are hesitating to make errors, we are hesitating to make mistakes. The hesitation will definitely pull your leg down. So make sure that you have to be a kid when you speak English. You should not ask why, how, why not like this, why like this, and how it can be, why it is not like that. And all the questions will appear in your mind. If it appears, definitely, I'm sure that you'll not be able to speak up very fast. You have to be like a kid. When we were a kid, we were not able to read Tamil. Okay, we were not even exposed to the letters of Tamil. Okay, but then we were able to speak. The very first day when my mom pulled me into a school, and I said, "Amma, na school ku poven." I was able to speak, but I was not able to write. I was not even exposed to that particular language in terms of writing. Okay. After that, I was having so much of knowledge out of reading, writing, and all that. As I said before, knowledge is all about reading and writing and all those things. I acquired enough knowledge. But before I acquired knowledge, I was able to speak Tamil because skills sometimes do not even require the help of knowledge. That's the reality. The ground reality is that skill is something different. It does not even at times, not all the times. At times, it does not even. Of course, the environment is also one of the reasons. But the ground rule of any language is that without making mistake, if you're hesitating to make mistakes, I'm very sure that you'll not be able to speak. Even if you learn for years and years, if you turn pages, if you flip over dictionaries and grammar book, you'll not be able to speak. Okay, the first rule is that you will have to be you have to be dare enough to make mistakes. You'll have to be like a kid. And if you think it's too bad to become a kid again, you can become a drunk. Seriously, the drunk doesn't think anything when they speak. A guy who's drunk, he doesn't even think what he talks. He doesn't even think what the environment, what people would think about me. He doesn't even think about it, and he would blabber and he would go. And the next day morning he would come to you and would say, what did I tell you in the last night? He would definitely ask you. So make sure that when you speak English, make mistakes. There's nothing wrong in it. Even when I spoke, I found three mistakes. I made it when I spoke. I found that I made three mistakes. Next time I should not do it. It happened just now, just a couple of minutes before. Even now it happened. I know what mistakes I made it. Okay. But when you speak, definitely you have to speak like a kid, and you should speak like a drunk, not as an adult. If you carry that adult in your mind, definitely you'll not be speak, because the adult would always would he would dig deep into it, and the causes and effects and all those things the mind will obviously think of, and it always wants to dig deep into it. But the child doesn't want to dig deep into it. It just wants to enjoy. So please enjoy, don't dig deep into it. So that's the root away the adult mind. If you want to make the root away the adult mind, you will have to enjoy everything. Whenever you speak, you should not think about the others. Okay, even if they laugh, you okay, that will mean will always bother the others when they speak English. They don't think that you're talking another thing. Okay, next one, barrier number 2, filtering, gulping it down. பாதி விழுங்கிடுறது. Okay. So I used to give this kind of example, this kind of activity when to the students, when do you normally wake up? At 5:30, sir. When do you go to your bed? At 11 o'clock. When I asked them in Tamil, people would say, "தீபா நான் இஷ்டமே இல்லாம எந்திப்பேன் சார். அப்படியே எங்க அம்மா வந்து எழுப்பிட்டே இருப்பாங்க, திட்டிக்கிட்டே இருப்பாங்க. அந்த சவுண்ட்ல தான் நான் முழிப்பேனே சார்." அப்படியே முழிச்சு பார்த்தா அலாரம் அடிச்சிட்டு இருக்கும். ஐ வில் ஸ்னூஸ் இட். அப்படியே அப்புறம் எந்திப்பேன் சார். அப்படியே பிரஷ் பண்ணுவேன் சார். They'll give this much ask them in Tamil. Okay, when I ask them to speak in English, I wake up at 5:30. They'll treat me as their personal assistant. அவங்களுக்கு நான் பர்சனல் அசிஸ்டன்ட் மாதிரியே பேசுவாங்க. என்னன்னா, ஐல் வேக் அப் அட் 5:30, 7 o'clock பிரஷ் பண்ணுவேன். 7:30க்கு பிரேக்ஃபாஸ்ட். Okay, what am I going to do with that, with the time that they're doing? Because they gulp it down, they swallow everything. They filter because they do not know how to speak the rest of the things. First thing, if you want to speak English, you have to know, where you're lagging behind. What are the sentences you're unable to make? Okay, so write it down. The second formula is that buddy formula. Solutionல பாருங்க. First one, be your own diary. Write it down. Write it down those sentences, for which you are unable to translate, for which you are unable to speak. That's the first solution. Second is the buddy formula. People who are proficient enough in English, go to them and ask them, clarify your doubts. They'll be able to help you out. Find a buddy. Okay, which means find a friend who's so good in English. Okay, ask them how to frame this particular sentence. And I wanted to say, எந்திரிச்ச உடனே காஃபி குடிப்பேன். இது எப்படி எனக்கு சொல்றதுன்னு தெரியல. If you are unable to make that particular sentence, write it down at first in Tamil, in your own regional language, whatever the language you are having. Okay, so write it in your, in your own mother tongue, or in the language in which you are proficient about. Okay, and find a person and clarify your doubt. So what normally we have is that barrier number two, the English inside our mind will be a Ferrari car. So I'll have to speak like that. These word and all that will be framing. We would frame it so nicely, but when we speak, what comes out is an auto. I don't uh, I don't say that it is bad, but initially it will be the thing. The English what I speak, it'll be like an auto, but what is there in my mind would be like a Ferrari or something. Okay, so what we think is big, but what comes out is always less, because we are filtering it, because we are certain words we may not know it, because that is a chance in which you can learn that particular word, because that word is enough. I mean, that word is needed to speak in English. So definitely you should not filter anything. You do, please don't gulp it down, or don't swallow it anything. Please, whatever that you wanted to speak in your own regional language, in the same way speak it in English. Okay, don't cut short anything. The shrinking your language definitely spoil the way you're learning. Okay, that's the barrier number two. The first barrier is that many of the participants have texted me personally. Okay, this is the first factor. This is one of the factor that why we are unable to speak English is, many of us know that. Okay. Okay, lack of confidence. Okay, fear of making mistake, thinking of others, language myths. Language myths மட்டும் நான் ஒரு 2 minutes மட்டும் பேசிக்கிறேன். If you think vocabulary is needed, I told you in the very first day, in the 20 10 minutes before. Okay, um, only 700 to 8 I mean 600 to 800 words are enough to speak English. If you want to speak in a standard English, 5500 to 1700 is enough. But when you calculate the words that definitely might be more than that. Okay, even if you don't believe me, if you close your eyes and look around, the things that are around, whatever the words that we speak on a regular basis, mainly the objects that we use always in English. So the words that we know in English is more than enough to speak English. So vocabulary, we have enough vocabulary. Pronunciation, okay, two different pronunciation. There may be English teachers here, American and British English differ mainly in terms of pronunciation, or in terms of spelling. Even there are certain differences in grammar as well. Okay, there are many differences. When people across the globe they speak English, their pronunciation is not one and the same. Even we South Indians speak English in a different terms. When you speak with a Keralite, their pronunciation is little different. Pronunciation in the very beginning, please don't look into it, because that is needed. I don't say that it is not at all needed. It is needed, but not to the extent that you look for. Okay, that's the basic thing. So language does not need proper pronunciation skill at the very beginning. At the end, if you want to master it, definitely it is needed. Okay, then the vocabulary skill, you are having enough skill. Your vocabulary thing, you are having enough. It's not that you're having less than the expected. No, you're having more than the expected. So you're having language, the vocabulary thing. Pronunciation is not required. Grammar, for example, if in college it was happening. Okay, one of the examples that I wanted to tell you, one time one on the day, I think in the afternoon. Okay, I was in the class. Apo, there was a noise of the dogs outside. So I sent one of the students go out and துரத்தி விட்டு வா அப்படி சொல்லிட்டு நான் ஒரு பையனை வெளியே அனுப்புறேன். He went outside and he came back. I asked him, எத்தனை நாய் இருந்துச்சு? நிறைய சவுண்ட் கேட்டுச்சு. 4 நாய் இருந்துச்சு சார். Okay. So this was the incident. 4 நாய் இருந்துச்சு சார். If you ask Tamil literate people, you know, இதுல எத்தனை கிராமட்டிக்கல் எரர் இருக்குன்னு கேட்டீங்கன்னா 3 இருக்கு. 4, ஐ மீன் ப்ரனன்சியேஷன் விட்டுருங்க. 2 கிராமட்டிக்கல் எரர். நாய்கள்னு சொல்லிருக்கணும். இருக்கின்றனன்னு சொல்லிருக்கணும். இருக்கு, நாய், 4. So this is one of the simple example that I wanted to tell you, because even our own mother tongue, we talk so much of grammatical errors. We mix up the other language into it. So grammar is not even, I don't think that grammar is so important for spoken English. I don't think so. Not, I'm very sure that it is not at all required. Even if you look into the people who speak English, you know, if you have any acquaintance in the native with the native speakers, I'm very sure when they speak, you can find so much of grammatical errors. So I'm sure that grammar is not that much needed. Grammar is needed to a certain extent, but not that much. And even without grammar, you can make people understand whatever you're saying it. So these are the language myths that I wanted to tell you. Blaming the environment, which means my parents did not make me to study in an English medium. I studied in the Tamil medium. People around me are not speaking in English. They are only talking in Tamil. Or all those things are these scotches. All these are the things, are the barriers. Okay, these are the psychological barriers. These are not at all related to the excuse that you're making. Okay, it's not even related to that. Okay, blaming the environment, language myths, and thinking of others, this is one of the important thing. And when I want to speak in English, I always think about others, what the other person will think of me. What he thinks of me is his problem, it's not my problem. What he thinks about me, that is his problem. It's no way is going to affect me. So make sure that do not think about others when you speak English. Please think, do not even worry about the environment. All that you want is that you are acquiring an additional skill, additional language. So you should know, you should be very proud about it. So I have enough to live in Tamil Nadu. I have the basic language requirement, which is Tamil. I'm learning English out of the necessity, which is the additional skill that I've been acquiring. So I should be very proud that I'm acquiring an additional skill, not the very basic one to live. I have the enough thing to live, but then we are acquiring the additional thing. That's the mentality should be when you learn a new language. You should be proud even when you make mistakes. You should not be even thinking about the others. If you think too much about others, I'm very sure that you'll not be able to come up. Okay, so don't fear, don't afraid of making mistakes. I'm sure that if you're a kid, I'm sure that you'll learn a lot. So make sure that you're a kid when you think. So solution is that better, develop a better self image. Talk in front of the mirror. That this one of the method that I've been following, I'd been following when I was learning English. I'm sure that I'll tell the organizers or having my resume, if they go into it, I did not learn anything from English medium, but I out of the experience that I've learned, but one of the things that I followed was that is talk in front of the mirror. I stood in front of the mirror and I was talking, and I was able to spot out the errors that I was making. I was very confident about the way I was looking in, and I was able to concentrate more on my body language. So standing in front of the mirror will definitely help you out. Okay, so one of the things that I experienced, that's why I said in the very beginning, I'm going to share only my experience, not the things that I've learned. Okay, so stand in front of the mirror. And one of the technological advancement that we have in our hand is mobile phone. Whenever you speak English, you don't even need other person. Please speak, record, and review it. The self realization will definitely help you out in rooting out these factors, the psychological factors away. So sure that these things will definitely helpful. I have given enough practices, activity based. First thing is that jumbled IQ I have given, and listening tests I've given, and as well talk in front of the mirror and talk about your routine practices. And whenever you practice, please follow these three rules. This is very much important. These three rules. First thing, you have to be very fast. I may be telling you the other way around, sir. We have to start very slowly, sir. Why very fast? When you talk fast, your mind will help you in thinking English. When you think in English, the fluency will automatically appear. No one can, if you're I'm telling you, if you learn bicycle, people used to give me this example. When you learn bicycle, we should not be riding very fast. We'll fall down. Okay, so you have to be starting very slowly and all the thing. That's fine, but for a language it won't be applying. If you start very slowly, and the translation process will be there in your mind forever and ever. So please, to translate, to root that away, you have to be a little bit fast. The first rule, you have to be very fast. You have to at least practice for 3 minutes at a stretch. You should not give a pass or stretch. Okay, third one, do not pause or stretch do not pause or stretch for 3 minutes and fast. These three rules should be applying whatever the practice that you make, be it a daily routine or the or any storytelling or anything else you practice, or talking in front of the mirror, or talking to your close ones, or anybody, any other thing. So these follow these three rules, it will be definitely helpful. And the other thing is that make use do not use any jargons or terminologies. Use simple words. Simple words are enough. Okay, if you have learned any words from the dictionary, it doesn't mean that you have to use those words when you talk to the other person. In the very beginning, I told you the effectiveness of the communication will always be measured by the respondents, not with the speaker. Okay, so if the respondent is not able to understand the word that you're using, then your communication goes useless. So make sure, even if it is a repetitive one, that is fine. Okay, if you want to speak a language, you use repetitive words, that's fine with that. Okay, do not complicate anyone when you speak. And that's the thing that I want to tell you, if you have anything in questioning session. So thank you so much, and I once again I extend my warm gratitude to Annamal College for Women for granting me this chance. And I sincerely apologize for the inconvenience caused. I did not even expect that in the beginning. So I wasted about 5 minutes. I sincerely apologize for it. And thank you so much, everyone. Unless if you have any question, thank you.
Thank you, sir. It's a time to thank everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. At first, I want to thank God Almighty for His grace and presence in the first day of the soft skill training program. And I want to express my sincere gratitude to our college management, Secretary Sir, Mr. Muralidharan, and Principal Ma'am, Dr. Joycelyn Sharmila, for providing this platform concerning the welfare of the prospective teachers and the teachers of all institutions. And also, I want to thank the resource person, Dr. Kingston, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Vivo Chidambaram College, for his positive response to our call and the effective training he rendered to break down the communication barriers. Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
And
ma'am.
I want to thank all the participants for their active participation in today's session. I wish all of you to attend all the 5 days to get benefits. Most importantly, I want to thank all the staff members and the prospective teachers of our college for their untiring support. Thank you all. Important note to the participants: attendance feedback link is posted in the chat box. It will be available only for 20 minutes. Kindly fill out the form. Certificates will be provided for those who participate all the 5 days of training program. It will not be shared neither in WhatsApp nor in mail. So kindly note it, fill out the form. Thank you all.